want to get that out of the way. So let's take a look at this.
Yo guys, Punk out with another video. As we all know, in any online video game, the most frustrating part can sometimes be that human element. In World of Warcraft, this can be especially true. Whether it's like a troll
Jigsaw,
or some doofus causing a wipe in your raid or in your group, or just some jerk spoiling the air with his presence, you'll run into everything there is to offer in your experience with Classic WoW. It's inevitable, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Life is about balance. Without negatives, the concept of positive doesn't even exist.
I completely agree with that. I like the idea that we're in an open space in Classic WoW, and people have the freedom to be a dick. Right? I mean, like, I'm not talking about, like, individually, like, harassing people, right? But, like, I think the avenues in which people can be obnoxious in the game right now are completely sufficient. And I like the idea that you can be a ninja leader. You can be a troll if you want to be. I feel like that makes the game more interesting and, in a way, more exciting.
This dynamic makes things interesting and creates memories which become sacred with the touch of time. So in this video, I'm going to cover the worst people of Classic WoW, the biggest jerks. Let's get into it. Also, don't be that guy. So first on the list, we've got players who don't understand itemization and roll for items which either...
McConnell, are you watching this video?
What is it?
I just want to make sure you're watching. It's about the biggest jerks of Classic WoW.
Yeah, hopefully your future then.
It's your reality.
Either aren't good for them or aren't an upgrade. This happens all the time. Epics are scarce in Classic, and some people are either greedy or just looking for a purple at any chance that they can get. Or even greedy for a side grade or a downgrade blue. It happens very often where someone will have a great blue in an item slot, and without understanding the difference in itemization, they'll just need on an item which is worse than the current one that they have.
I've seen this happen before, guys. It's not good.
Taking it away from somebody who potentially needs it extremely bad.
Of course.
This is why Master Looter is a very important thing.
It's always the best
more
decision.
Frustrating when you try to explain to them that clearly you don't need this item, but they feel entitled to it anyway, especially...
I've seen this happen many times over the years. It's been something that with a lot of people, they just don't get it. They want to get as much gear as possible, etc.
Especially if they rolled for it and won the item, but they clearly don't need it, and the raid leader gives it to somebody who actually does need it, and then they go on an all-out tantrum because they didn't get the item. Next up, we've got people who hold the flag in Warsong Gulch, holding up the BG and griefing everyone in it. In Classic WoW, there's no time limit in Warsong like there is in the modern expansions, to avoid this exact phenomenon. Eternal
I thought this was against TOS.
You thought AV was the only battleground that can last an indefinite amount of time? Warsong Gulch is the griefer's paradise. So you will experience this if you PvP a lot. You will one day be in a Warsong where your team is losing real bad, and the enemy team, if they feel like being jerks, could just hold on to your flag for hours while camping your graveyard.
I used to do this. We would camp the graveyard until they stopped rezzing. And eventually it was like 10 to 2 people because nobody else would join the BG. And yeah, of course, we used to. Well, I didn't want to do this. It's not like I wanted to camp people at the graveyard. I did it because I had to. I had to do it to get my 250,000 honorable kills for the bloodthirsty mount. And back then, like, you know, there weren't a lot of other options. And I had to sit there and farm the Warsong Gulch. I would hold the flag and kill people, AoEing them down right at that exact graveyard. And I did this for like maybe 2 hours. Like one of them would last for 2 hours. And eventually people would just stop queuing in and they would just quit. And other people in my group would just like AFK out because they'd be so angry that we weren't actually turning in the flag.
There's also ways to jump up above the walls of the Alliance and Horde base, which puts you in a spot that's incredibly hard to wall jump up to, or even if you do try to get up there, they'll just kill you as you attempt to wall jump up, giving them the ability to drag out the match endlessly if they really want to. This is a relatively common troll in Warsong and Vanilla, and you'll probably end up seeing it at some point. My advice, just leave the BG immediately and get your deserter tag counting down instead of wasting your time in there. Alright, now...
I think that should be reportable. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but in my opinion, I think that if you're going out of your way to especially use terrain to your advantage to make it to where people can't get to you, I feel like that's terrain exploitation and it's griefing and it should be against the TOS and you should get suspended for it 100%.
These guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys have encountered
in your
leveling
vanilla
process
too.
from 1 to 60. If you're running skinning, then you know that you have to loot the beast that you kill before you can actually skin the leather. This introduces a little bit of a frustrating scenario that I see people complaining about on the WoW forums and on Reddit constantly.
Oh no, people don't need their beast kills. Wait, what? Who gives a fuck about that? I thought they were going to talk about people skinning the other guy's mobs, like the devil swords, right? Because that's what Unbind was doing. Like, Nasty Nober was trying to kill the devil swords, then an Unbind to just be sitting there trying to fucking skin Nasty Nober's fucking mob.
People who are killing beasts and are not looting them, stopping you from coming in and trying to get the leather. Now, I know in this scenario, it's their kill and you're not entitled to that leather whatsoever. Or their inventory might be full and that's why they're not picking up the loot. But nonetheless, I know this is something that a lot of you guys can relate to. I personally had an issue with this running Blackrock Depths prison runs and arena runs, where while we were doing the XP farm, we were killing those red hounds all over the place in the prison, and people in my group were just not looting any of them. I was trying to get the rugged and thick leather, but I couldn't skin half of the wolves.
It's pretty annoying.
Some of you guys might not like this one specifically because of what I mentioned earlier, but nonetheless, we're going to put this one on the list because it's a very common complaint from a lot of you guys. Loot the beast that you kill, guys, come on. Okay, so this one I have to admit I'm absolutely guilty of, especially being a hunter. We're talking about mob tagging. So somebody who tags your mob that you're clearly about to hit before you can hit it and taking it from you. Now
here's what you need to do, okay? Let me teach you guys a few tricks on this. So if you see a warlock who's getting ready to dot something up, in classic WoW, dotting a target doesn't tag it. So what you want to do if you're a mage is you want to fire blast as soon as their dot hits it, or moonfire, right, if you're a druid. And that way you tag the mob, but then they start dealing damage to it. And then because their damage will outdamage your damage, the mob will go on them and they will be forced to kill it. And they'll basically have to farm experience for you. And this is something I've done for a long time. Back in actual vanilla in BC, I used to do the same thing with banishing other people's mobs and then making them leave the zone because I kept banishing their stuff. And eventually they'd get angry and leave. I don't think you can do this anymore in Classic, though.
There's a couple classes that get the worst end of the stick on this. I'm talking about my warriors, my warlocks, and my paladins. So as a paladin, you don't have a really long range ability at all. You have to walk up pretty much melee range, or at least judgment range, before you can actually tag the mob. And right before you hit it and you're about to claim it for yourself, a hunter just comes in and arcane shots it, and then it's his mob. You might walk over to another one and he'll just do the same thing and get both of them on his pet. Same thing with a warrior. He might be charging over to a mob, and before his auto attack triggers or before he finishes the entire charge length, a hunter or a mage are gonna blast it and get it onto them. And then for warlocks, pretty simple. They put their dots on something, but before the dot actually ticks, someone tags it. Now this is surely something a lot of you guys are very frustrated with, and trust me, it never gets better in any expansion until they made tags not character specific and everyone can just kill things together. So in any legacy version of the game,
well, they made it fine whenever most people had an ability that immediately did damage, instant damage abilities. Like, I mean, before they did the shared tags, it was still fine. It was just like whoever gets their instant tag ability off first. And that's like, it's kind of stupid, but you know, it's also, in my opinion, I think it's fine.
This is just something you're gonna have to deal with. And if I stole your mobs, sorry. So this next one is very similar to the last. We're talking about people who steal your chest. So you might be in Westfall, let's say, for example, and there's a little knoll camp with maybe 4 or 5 different guys. You work your butt off to clear every single one of them, and let's say you're on the last mob and you're about to finish him and get access to that sweet bounty. Lo and behold, right before you kill the last knoll, some rogue just pops out of stealth, or some guy just comes charging over, swooping in, and takes your chest. You did all the heavy lifting, all the hard work, and your reward was just taken from you. Now,
fuck them, dude. Here's the thing, right? Is in the open world, man, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. You got to get what you can get, and that's it. And if you're not doing it, somebody else is doing it. Like, if I see somebody fighting next to a chest, man, I'm like, ooh, don't mind if I do. You know, and yeah, it's kind of a dick thing to do, but I just assume everybody else would do the same fucking thing, man. Yeah, fuck that shit.
Some people would say it's bad etiquette, and other people would say that it's just the nature of the game. Every man for himself. We're all trying to level. We all need the gold. But regardless of what your opinion is, it's still a little bit of a jerk move, even if I guess it's pretty fair game. This next one is...
I kind of like that. I like that in the game, you know? It makes it a little bit more exciting, you know? You have, like, people can steal your shit. It's, I don't know, it just makes it... Like, whenever you can't have any negative outcomes in the game, it just feels boring. You know, I don't know. It's like, oh, I either win or I win more. That's all. I don't know. I like the idea. Somebody can just, like, swoop in and steal your shit. It's like, it's annoying sometimes. Yeah, sure. But with, like, little things like this, who gives a fuck?
Just bad etiquette. People who use health pots in duels. Dueling is a massive part of classic WoW, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have memories of all the top PvPers on your server hanging outside of Ironforge dueling in the good old days.
Just like me right now.
It's a big part of the vanilla experience. Although in my experience lately on private servers, it hasn't been as prevalent as it was back in original vanilla, where you know, the mountain ledge outside of the Ironforge gate was always filled with the most skilled players on your server. It was kind of like the cool kids club. It's an unspoken rule that every vanilla player knows. You don't pop health pots in a duel. Even if you and your opponent are both one hit from death, and it seems so tempting to just pop the pot and win the duel, you don't do it. You will be viewed as a snake for the rest of your life. Engineering items are more accepted. It kind of depends on who you ask. But popping potions is strictly prohibited under Rule 1.12-C16.
Disgusting to use potions.
Okay, so next jerk on the list, people who complain in pugs. I mean, I get it. If the pug is super crappy, I get it. But honestly, if it's that bad, just leave or stick it out and shut up. But when a group is pretty bad or quite good even, and you have one guy who at the first sign of a mistake or a slight challenge acts like a little pissant, bringing down the entire morale of the group, and specifically making the leader feel bad, because when you lead a group, it falls on you. It falls on your shoulders, whatever happens in that group. It sucks to feel like you're running an inefficient run. But complaining literally helps no one, and it makes things worse if anything. Morale is incredibly important in a team environment.
See, anybody that pulls like these kinds of bitch moves, man, I don't want to deal with them. I don't even want them in my guild, right? It's like, I've been in so, like, you guys know how many Mythic Plus keys I've ever left in BFA and Legion combined? I think 2. That's it. And both of those, we had all agreed that we were going to leave. I never leave keys. If I'm in a run, I finish the fucking run. That's it. I've always been like that. And it's like at a certain point, it's like, I'm like, guys, can we please call it? This isn't really going well. But if they want to keep going, I never leave runs, man. I try to be as fair as possible. Give me one sec. I don't know why I'm getting a runny nose right now. I do apologize for that.
Complaining and trash talking in a group just causes animosity and creates a snowball effect that can make things even worse.
If you're an angry bitch, I'll probably kick you out of the guild one way or another. Yeah, I just don't want to deal with you. It's annoying. It wastes everybody's time. It makes things unpleasant. Yeah, I just kick you out of the guild and that's it.
You know, when I was younger, I was super bad at this and I used to complain all the time.
I did too.
But playing competitive team games taught me to sort of reel it in a little bit. And the results have been significantly visible. When things go bad, you want to be the guy bringing people up and setting a positive tone, bringing people together. The leader of the group feels guilty when things go bad. And if you respond with positivity and say something like, guys, it's okay, we got it this time, just focus up. That goes an extremely long way and generally helps performance going forward. I can't put enough emphasis on this. If you want to complain, do it in Discord, in a private chat, or in your guild chat with people who aren't in the group. But keep the actual group chat positive and try to be productive. You'll end up saving your own time in the process and most likely ameliorating things within that group rather than starting a downward spiral of finger pointing and player tilting. So this next one,
I totally agree with that. I mean, like, obviously I used to be much more toxic about that kind of stuff. And back in the day, like, there was a point in time where I would leave groups more regularly. And usually if I ever left a group, I would just simply leave the group and that would be it. I'd just never go back into that group and that'd be done. I'd be, fuck these guys, doesn't matter, I'm finished with this.
One is more of a group thing, and it's pretty big. Honestly, we don't know how much of a relevant factor it's going to be since there's going to be cross-realm BGs in vanilla confirmed by Blizzard, but we don't know how big the BG groups are going to be, how many servers are going to be included in each BG group, and it still might be a factor. So here we got Q Dodgers, the scum of pre-mating in classic WoW. These pre-mades will roll level 1s to spy on enemy teams in order to dodge their BG queue. So we
did the same shit with RBGs all the time. Like, if we were queuing into a team that we knew that we couldn't beat, we'd just wait for them to get a game and then we'd queue again. Like, everybody did this back in the RBG days, unless you were literally the top team. Like, there is no team that I knew that didn't queue dodge unless they were like the top team that were on at that time. Everybody else Q dodged.
only face uncompetitive non-premates or lesser skill premates. This is cowardice at its best, and it affects the PvP honor ladder since the Q dodgers are able to farm honor quicker against cruddier teams.
Of course.
So they're going into quick BG wins over and over, and the other teams are taking Qs against stronger premates. This next one is a vanilla classic. I've seen it less and less in later expansions, but for some reason it always seems to re-emerge in a big way in the classic raiding ecosystem. We've got the Tyrant raid leader. Satire is generally based in reality, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen the kind of spoof parody videos about raging Tyrant raid leaders from old school WoW. The Onyxia wipe viral video is probably the most obvious example.
Wait a minute, no, it's not me at all. It's not me. Like, am I a Tyrant raid leader? I am the most gracious raid leader that there is. I'm reasonable. I talk to people. I'm like, you know what? I understand where you're coming from. You're, having problems, etc. I am the most reasonable raid leader that there is. And that's it, man. I am not a tyrant at all. I am not a tyrant or a bad raid leader. I'm a very, very good guy who's reasonable, and I always listen to what other people have to say.
Generally, it's a relatively young kid who's leading these raids, early 20s max, mixed with maybe a little bit of a Napoleon complex, taking out his real life frustrations and insecurities out in the raid comms. I hope you don't get caught in one of these situations in a raid guild. It's unbearable in certain cases, and it's kind of similar to people who complain in pugs. It generally doesn't produce results. All of the best guilds tend to have a very calm, cohesive, camaraderie type culture within their voice comms, which allows them to thrive in difficult situations, while having a little petulant child as your raid leader who's just yelling and going crazy all the time can make things go worse and can make people leave and having to recruit over and over again.
Exactly. We used to have a rule back in the day where every single time that I would raid lead, somebody would quit the guild. If they had to if the raid leader took a day off and it's like, oh fuck, Asmongold's gonna have to raid lead, every time I did a raid, somebody would quit the guild. And I did this on purpose, right? Because I knew that these other people in the guild were just getting by scot-free. Oh, I'm sorry. I got hit by the fire again. I wasn't paying attention. Well, it wasn't on my screen, but it was there. Oh, well, I don't know. I didn't see it. It didn't show up. I think it was lag. I don't know. And the raiders are, oh, it's so...
Well, why are you doing a girl voice, dude?
It's not a girl voice. It's not a girl voice. It's okay. It's okay. You're a good boy. You're not gonna do anything. You're a good girl. Whatever. You're a good individual. You're not gonna do anything wrong. And I get one night every month about to going into that raid and to just shit on him, and it felt so goddamn good. Because everybody else in the guild would message me like, thank God, dude. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. This dick boy's been getting by under the radar every single day. It's been pissing me off. And then I come in there and I enact fucking justice. And I say, listen to me, you dumb fucking piece of shit. I don't really say that. Usually what I just say is like, well, if it wasn't on your screen, then why'd you try moving out of it in the wrong direction? And, hey, I just thought I was just kind of predicting things, and like just calling these fucking pieces of shit out, right? It was amazing. Like I would do this like even back in the day. Like if I ever raid lead again on the live servers, you guys will see. I am harsh, but I'm effective and I'm constructive. Whenever I'm dealing with an actual good team, right? If it's a random pug full of dumbasses, yeah, I'll be a dick. But like, if I'm dealing with a serious team, right? Whenever we were doing our mythic pugs for Ashara, we had no problems. I was never an asshole.
Much else to be said. Tyrant raid leaders are the worst. Next up, we've got world PvP griefers. I personally find this kind of stuff more funny than I get annoyed by it, but I know most of you guys out there absolutely hate this stuff, so I'll mention it. Level 60s who stay in Red Ridge all day ganking level 20s. On EU servers, there's always an undead mage or undead rogue, probably Russian, sitting there all day griefing lobies. I actually heard a story from the old days of Blizzard banning somebody who would just camp low levels all day in Red Ridge. Not sure how I feel about someone actually getting banned for that, but it is what it is. Also, I can add people who kill flight path NPCs, but again, I find that stuff more funny than I care about it. But
that's the game, dude. Like, in my opinion, like, killing flight path NPCs and everything like that, that's the fucking game. Like, if you don't like that, if you're not a fan of that, then I don't know really what to say. It's just, it is what it is.
It's still a jerk move, I guess, so I'll edit it.
Yeah.
Okay, now I left this one for the last spot, and I think rightfully so. They say save the best for last. And a lot of you probably forgot about the nature of these annoying leeches, or at least the magnitude of it within a classic context.
Gold beggars?
We've got gold beggars. Gold beggars aren't a factor in the newer versions of the game, because gold is pretty much irrelevant. But in classic, gold is, like everything else, scarce. Stormwind specifically is where this situation is the worst. Filthy leeches will harass you for gold donations in the city center, non-stop.
I hate
Sometimes they're sneaky too. You'll just get a random little sneaky whisper like, "Hey mate." What? "Oh, how's it going, mate? Oh, how's life, mate? How's your mom, mate?" "Good." "So, mate, go on any adventures lately, mate?" "Yeah, just killed Onyxia. It was pretty sweet." "Oh, wow, mate, that's so good. Can I have gold for mount, please?" Just turn around and book it. Don't do it. Don't give them gold. In fact, a lot of the time you have people with high-level characters who will make low-level alts specifically just to beg for gold instead of gold farming. It's a gold-making strategy for some people.
It's what makes sense.
They just pretend to be a new player who needs gold for skills or a mount and just beg for gold all day in Stormwind. Alright boys, that's it for this one. I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this one. We've all had encounters with these kind of jerks in the game before, right? Like I said in the intro though, it's all part of the ecosystem. It's human nature.
Really
it's
annoying.
another human element
like
that makes the game bigger than just a game. It's an experience.
Yep.
So that's the video. If you feel like I missed a big one on this video, add it in the comment section. I read all of the comments and I want to hear your anecdotes, boys. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill, soldiers. I hope you liked it. And with that, have a good one. I'm out. Peace.
Okay. Here's the thing. It's a good video. I like the video overall. I thought it was it worked pretty well. Announcement. Okay, I'll do the announcement in just 1 second. Okay. I just want to see what else I can invite. All right. Let's see. Ninetail, I'll get you in. We need a healer. Can we get a healer for UBRS?